The trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, a longtime confidant of Jeffrey Epstein, who had been facing sex trafficking charges, is set to get underway on Monday. The case against Maxwell is expected to focus specifically on allegations she helped Epstein recruit and abuse 4 underage girls in the 1990s. Maxwell faces 8 criminal counts and has pleaded not guilty to the charges.
A lot of people have been sharing a meme on Twitter and social media. The Kyle Rittenhouse trial was broadcast for the world to see. Hundreds of thousands of people watching. Ghislaine Maxwell, there will be no TVs, no nothing. What are they trying to hide? Federal courts, because that's where Ghislaine Maxwell trial is being held, do not broadcast trials. State court does have the option to broadcast trials, whereas federal courts, by their rules, do not, which is why the general public only gets access to those odd watercolor paintings depicting what's going on in the courtroom.
I've got a link in the description of the video to some websites. This is the United States District Court, Southern District of New York website, where you can go hunt down court documents. This 18-page document is her charges for the trial that's about to start. Count 1 is conspiracy. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's really long. Count 1 is conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. I've got a link to this document in the description if you want to go read all of this. I'm looking for count 2. This is the indictment, so they've got it really long and drawn out. I missed count 2. There it is. Count 2, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Count 3, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Count 4, transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Count 5, perjury. Count 6, perjury. So this is an 18-page document of the charges for the trial that is going to start tomorrow. They've already done jury selection. And this is another link I've got in here. This is Exhibit 6 of the deposition that Ghislaine Maxwell gave that was going to be for Jeffrey Epstein's trial before he was Arkancided. It is 455 pages long. So the link to it is in the description, but if you're really into this case, this has some really interesting stuff in it. So those are the documents I've got for you. This is the penalties that she can possibly get for these charges. She's charged with 1 count of enticing a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. 1 count of conspiracy to entice a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. 1 count of transporting a minor with the intent to engage in sexual criminal activity, which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. 1 count of conspiracy to transport a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. And 2 counts of perjury, each of which contains a maximum sentence of 5 years. The statutory maximum penalties are prescribed by Congress and are provided here for informational purposes only, as any sentencing of the defendant would be determined by the judge. So if she's found guilty on all of these charges, she could do a significant amount of time in prison.
Nominates Ghislaine Maxwell's judge, Memphis litigator, to appeals courts. President Joe Biden on Wednesday nominated the Manhattan federal judge overseeing the very, very bad trial of British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell and a Memphis litigator at the law firm Butler Snow to serve as federal appellate court judges. The announcement came a day after U.S. Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer revealed he had recommended Biden nominate U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan for a seat on the New York-based Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeal.
And a recent motion was filed in the trial where A U.S. judge is going to allow an expert on false memories to testify. A U.S. judge has granted British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell permission to call a psychologist who specializes in how memories can become distorted over time to testify at her trial on sex abuse charges. Lawyers for Maxwell, who is accused by prosecutors of recruiting and grooming underage girls for the late financier Jeffrey Epstein to abuse, have said they plan to call American psychologist Elizabeth Loftus to testify about false memories of sexual abuses that people may describe with confidence without deliberately lying. So we see where this trial is going to go. She's going to pretend like she doesn't remember stuff. And also that what I'm guessing this is more pointed to is they're going to act like these young ladies that were abused are remembering falsely what happened to them. So I think this is going to go really interesting in the trial. Another thing is Ghislaine is trying, this is a November 19th article from this year, she's trying to get her hands on the Epstein victim settlement files. A lot of the victims filed, they did file criminal charges against Jeffrey before he got suicided, but there's a civil lawsuit. So I'm going to read this. Less than 2 weeks before her trial, Ghislaine Maxwell is fighting for documents from the settlement fund for victims of sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. It's unclear which specific records the British socialite and accused procurer of underage girls is seeking, but Jordana Feldman, the administrator of the Epstein Victims Compensation Program, opposes her request. On Friday, Feldman's lawyer filed a letter in Manhattan federal court stating she intends to move to squash defendant Maxwell's subpoena directed to her. A representative for Feldman declined to comment, and her attorney didn't return messages. The legal scuffle comes as Maxwell's battle for certain evidence, including Epstein's address book of high-flying contacts and a box containing a sex toy. At the end of this video, I am going to play a video I had made a long time ago about Jeffrey Epstein's little black book, which is what she is probably trying to get her hands on. She's calling it an address book, but at the end of the video, I'm going to play the video I made when Epstein was supposed to be going to court about his little black book, and it's kind of interesting. The Victims Fund, which closed in August, functioned as an independent and voluntary alternative to litigation and resulted in nearly $125 million paid out to more than 135 victims of Epstein. As part of the program, applicants provided documentation and were interviewed by Feldman and other administrators. If they received and accepted a settlement, the women were required to waive the right to sue Epstein's estate and related entities and/or individuals, including Maxwell. Here is a document filed in court. The court is in receipt of the government's Administrator Feldman's and two anticipated witnesses' motions to squash the defendant rule blah 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 subpoena. Docket number blah blah blah. The motion to squash are denied. The court hereby orders the administrators of Epstein's Victim Compensation Program to produce to the court via electronic thumb drive any materials responsive to the subpoena as soon as possible, but no later than noon on the 24th, which has already passed. Upon receipt, the court will determine whether the parties may inspect all or part of the materials. Then they wrote a letter back and said, we request Joanna H. Feldman, the independent administrator of Epstein's Victim Compensation Program. We write regarding the court's order dated November 22nd, 2021, denying Ms. Feldman's motion to squash Maxwell's subpoena to her and ordering production of the subpoenaed documents by November 24th at noon. Ms. Feldman intends to comply with the court order and produce responsive documents to the court. However, given the number of materials and the steps necessary to ensure the documents produced fall within the scope of the subpoena, it is not possible to produce all materials by noon tomorrow. We understand that the volume of potentially responsive materials is approximately 6,000 to 7,000 pages, and we note that the original return date for the subpoena was November 29th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. We intend to produce by noon tomorrow, redacted. We intend to produce remaining responsive documents as soon as possible thereafter and respectfully request until November 29th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. to complete production.
My most prized possession, about real love and true confessions, numbers and names that I recall. I'm giving it up and having a ball. I'm throwing away my little black book. One look at you was all that it took. I'm throwing away my little black book. One night with you and I was hooked. This thing that I'm doing is of my own free will. I just told my love how I feel. I'm putting my cards out on the table. Show you I'm ready, willing and able. I'm throwing away my little black book. One look at you was all that it took. I'm throwing away my little black book. One night with you and I was hooked. Nothing in the world could change my mind. I wanna be with you till the end of time. No one else in my book will do. My love's reserved just for me and you. I'm throwing away. One look at you was all that it took. I'm throwing away my little black book. One night with you and I was hooked. I'm throwing it away. I don't need it anymore. You all I need, baby. No names, no numbers. I'm throwing it away. Oh, little black book. That's all it took. I'm throwing it away. One night with you, and I was hooked. Oh, throwing it away. Oh, baby, one night with you was all that it took.